Hey, it's Nick Hodge here with Digest Publishing with an urgent investor presentation that could deliver the biggest and fastest investment gains you've ever experienced, but only if you're able to act on this research today, and here's why. You've likely heard of nuclear meltdowns before. Practically everyone has. 3 Mile Island in 1979, Chernobyl in 1986, and Fukushima in 2011. But few people know what a nuclear melt-up is, or how one works. In short, a nuclear melt-up occurs in the financial markets when uranium resource stocks spike rapidly. This usually happens within just 1 to 2 years after a bull market has started, and often because of a large gap between the projected demand and the existing supply for uranium. This market phenomenon has only happened twice before, and the current melt-up could be larger than both of them. So please allow me to explain. The first nuclear melt-up occurred in 1973. During this time, there was a large gap between the growing demand and the available supply, while the world was still learning all the ins and outs of using nuclear energy. As a result, the price of uranium rose, and those invested in the uranium mining sector made a fortune as the price of uranium jumped tenfold. Investors in well-positioned uranium mining stocks had the chance to make multiples of that. The second melt-up happened 3 decades later in 2006 when there was a flooding at Cigar Lake, which was the largest high-grade uranium deposit in the world. All it took was one mine to flood, and the entire sector went ballistic. That's how tightly controlled the uranium market is. This ramped up the price of uranium per pound such that uranium-producing companies became worth billions of dollars overnight. This time, the price of uranium spiked 13-fold, a 1,300% gain. Now, you wouldn't have made a fortune from buying and selling uranium itself, which is nearly impossible to do because it's a highly regulated radioactive material. But if you own shares of uranium mining companies during this melt-up, then you could have seen life-changing investment gains in a very short amount of time. Let me show you a handful of examples. Energy Fuels had 13,275% gains in around 2 years, or enough to make investors 132 times their money. UEX Energy stock spiked 13,976%, enough to hand investors 139 times their money in 4 years. And Laramide Resources more than doubled those numbers with a 30,800% gain in 2 years, enough to deliver investors a whopping 308 times their money. Had you invested just $1,000 in each of those 3 uranium-producing companies, you could have turned your original $3,000 investment into just over $580,000. And while that amount can be life-changing for most people, some investors were able to make millions on a single uranium stock. One of them was International Enexco. This was a one-stock millionaire maker that surged an incredible 114,300%. Those kind of gains are enough to make investors 1,143 times their money. And then there was Paladin Energy. It went up a mind-blowing 130,400%, and it gave early investors the chance to make over 1,300 times their money, enough to turn $1,000 into over $1.3 million, or a paltry $100 investment into $130,000. How would an extra $1.3 million or even an extra $130,000 impact your life? At the very least, I'd imagine it could make your financial situation significantly better than it is today. We've made gains like these several times for ourselves and for the investors who follow our research. Of course, there are never any guarantees in the financial markets. Everybody knows that. But now that the world is turning to uranium for the bulk of its clean energy needs, well-known billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, and George Soros have each invested millions of their own money. And hedge funds have been following suit in the uranium sector as well. In other words, the smart money is now positioned for this nuclear melt-up. And they're not alone, as I know many other millionaires who have poured their money into this explosive sector that could rapidly multiply their wealth, and that includes me. But you don't need billions or even millions to profit. As you've just seen with these tiny uranium stocks, they have the potential to provide life-changing profits in a very short period of time. And a small investment of $1,000 or even $100 could turn into a substantial amount of money. In a moment, I'll introduce you to the man who has not only helped guide me and thousands of others through this ongoing nuclear melt-up profit opportunity that's happening now, but he's also helped me and others make multiple fortunes with other natural resource stocks. And he could do the same for you with his top 3 uranium stocks to buy right now. But before I do, consider the following. We've been alerting our readers during the run-up of this massive profit opportunity for the past few years. In fact, we created and shared 2 different hour-long presentations just like this one with our best uranium investment research, with thousands of our readers taking immediate action. Those who followed our advice on uranium stocks over the past few years are now sitting pretty with some pretty great portfolio returns that include 148, 234, and 438% gains. But we're not done yet, because we've only scratched the surface when it comes to the profit potential of this nuclear melt-up. Here are 5 reasons why you need to take a serious look at the uranium market and the profit opportunities that exist there right now. Reason number 1, everything we've mentioned before is now coming to fruition. For example, in our last presentation, we covered the various market catalysts that will drive uranium prices from $50 to $100 and well on to over $200 per pound. Well, since then, uranium prices have already tripled to over $100 per pound, and they're now ready for their next leg up to $125 to $150 per pound as they climb to $200. We also said the government was going to fast-track uranium production. Well, since then, the government implemented nuclear and uranium incentives that were made law upon the signing of the Inflation Reduction Act. That bill had $369 billion in climate provisions, including production tax credits for existing nuclear reactors, incentives to bring next-generation nuclear reactors online, $700 million to support the domestic supply chain for high-assay, low-enriched uranium. Plus, we mentioned our number 1 uranium stock pick that everyone should own. The company's name is Uranium Energy Corp, and it's what we call a blue-chip uranium company. In May of 2023, our readers had the opportunity to buy shares at $2.37 apiece. And in less than a year, they were able to watch those share prices climb to $8.20. That's a fast 246% gain, allowing them to more than triple their money. And our research shows there is still plenty of room for that stock to run. Just look at Paladin Energy during the last nuclear melt-up, as it provided 130,400% gains to investors, which only goes to show that UEC's stock tripling is great, but it still has a long way to go, making it a very exciting time for us and our readers. But here's the best part about the ongoing nuclear melt-up. In the event you haven't seen our research, or you saw it and forgot to take action on our recommendations, you still have the chance to turn $1,000 or even $100 into a substantial payday during this nuclear melt-up that is happening right now with the 3 uranium stocks you'll hear about in this presentation. Reason number 2, the fast-growing uranium supply-demand gap. Globally, the world needs about 200 million pounds of uranium each year, but current production is only around 160 million pounds. So that means there's already an annual supply shortage of around 40 million pounds, as you can see on this chart. Plus, you'll notice demand continues to increase over the next 10 years, but the existing uranium mines cannot keep up and supply actually falls in the 2030s. To fix this, countries around the world are planning to throw billions of dollars at the problem and committing themselves to mine more uranium, as you'll see in just a moment. And more money for mining companies translates to more money for uranium company shareholders like us. I should also mention that there's increasing chatter that Kazakhstan, which is the world's largest uranium producer at about 35% of global production, isn't going to be able to keep pace. So any failure to meet its obligations for production guidance this year and in the future would also send uranium prices drastically higher. It's also important to note that our biggest suppliers are Kazakhstan, which is a Russian satellite state, as well as Uzbekistan, and they collectively supply almost half of the uranium needs for the United States. If you've seen the increased tensions between the US and Russia in the news lately, then you know that relying on Russia and its satellite states for keeping our lights on is not a good position for any of us to be in now or at any time. And in fact, in a rare show of bipartisanship, Congress has now passed a ban on Russian uranium imports that Biden has signed into law. That's 4 million additional pounds of uranium that the U.S. will have to come up with, putting further strain on an already precarious supply-demand imbalance. Reason number 3, global governments are on board with green initiatives to reach climate goals. Most people don't know this, but uranium is the world's #1 source of clean energy. In fact, it's bigger than solar, wind, geothermal, and every other renewable energy source combined. It's the only one with the energy potential to power the electrical grids for megacities, states, and even entire countries, especially given the growing energy demands of artificial intelligence. In fact, at a recent United Nations climate conference in Dubai, more than 20 nations, including the United States, France, Japan, and the UK, made a significant commitment to triple global nuclear energy production by 2050. But for that to be even remotely possible, increased uranium production must start today. And here's how it will start here in the United States. Reason number 4, there's finally bipartisan support for uranium mining in the United States. Perhaps the most significant development is that after almost 50 years, the Democratic Party is now in favor of nuclear energy. In other words, there is finally bipartisan support for it in the United States. That means increased agreement between political parties to rapidly advance nuclear energy production in the U.S. to meet world climate goals, increased government subsidies to uranium miners, refiners, and utility companies, increased investments in next-generation technology like small modular reactors that will be safer and reduce energy costs to end consumers. In fact, just last year, the first small modular reactor in the U.S. received approval to be built. All the economic drivers are coming together, and this nuclear melt-up could truly be the investment opportunity that comes around only once in a generation. And here's the major reason that indicates it's about to happen. Reason number 5. The smart money has already staked out early positions and have been patiently waiting for their big payoff. The ultra-wealthy know and never forget the #1 rule of investing: buy low and sell high. And the higher, the better. Look at this chart where you'll see the spot price for uranium bottoming out during late 2016, just below $20 a pound. Not long after uranium hit bottom, billionaires, hedge funds, and other institutional investors quietly began building their positions in the uranium sector. And now they are reaping the rewards as this nuclear melt-up kicks into high gear. See for yourself. Jeff Bezos is backing General Fusion, which is building a $400 million plant in the UK. Peter Thiel is backing Helion, with over $570 million raised to build its first reactor by 2025. Bill Gates is the founder and chairman of TerraPower, which has raised $750 million to build next-generation nuclear reactors. George Soros has led funding rounds for Commonwealth Fusion Systems to the tune of $1.8 billion. And Sam Altman, best known as the CEO of AI pioneer OpenAI, is backing a small nuclear startup called Oklo with former team members from Apple, Tesla, and Google. It IPO'd in 2024 and has a valuation near $1 billion. And those are just the billionaires that most people have heard of. Many others are investing in new nuclear technologies as well. That's just the start of the smart money taking their early positions to maximize their profit potential. Hedge funds, even ones that broker deals for Hollywood and the world's biggest companies, are getting in on the action. Right now, other institutional investors are all looking toward the future and pouring their money into nuclear energy and uranium for one simple reason, because that's where they anticipate the big profits will be. And there are 3 uranium stocks you'll want to own that will give you the chance to make a fortune for yourself. I'll tell you more about them in a moment, but first, let me introduce you to the man who has helped his readers make numerous fortunes with his investment research. I knew when I met Gerardo Del Real that we'd become good friends. That was nearly a decade ago, and since then we've become business partners in the financial publishing industry, and he's helped make me and our subscribers a metric ton of money. You see, it's not uncommon for me to invest $25,000 or more into a company that Gerardo has researched and recommends. Why? His investing track record. Now, he could personally tell you about all of his winners, and he's had a bunch of them over the past decade. But those that immediately come to mind are the ones that allowed him to make multiple fortunes for himself and the readers who follow his work. First, there was Nevada Sunrise, which provided him with 832% gains, or 8 times his money in 7 months. And then there was Rare Element Resources, which handed him 3,900% gains, allowing him to make 30 times his money in 4 years. Then there's Quest Rare Minerals. This company went up 7,042%, giving Gerardo the opportunity to make just over 70 times his money in 2 years. And the biggest fortune Gerardo has ever made in the natural resource space to date has been Patriot Battery Metals. This company has provided 10,987% gains and allowed Gerardo and his readers to make up to 109 times their money. To put that into perspective, a one-time $10,000 investment in Patriot Battery Metals could have turned you into a millionaire in just over 2 years. Even a $1,000 investment would have turned into $110,000. Gerardo's told me that he's made millions on just those 4 stocks alone, some in just a matter of months. And he doesn't rest on his laurels either, because he's always on the lookout for new profit opportunities, just like the 3 nuclear melt-up uranium companies we're going to share with you today. Now, here's an important point I want to get across. You don't discover companies that deliver those kinds of profits by being a desk jockey, following the markets online, and throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks. This is why some of Gerardo's select private clients pay him tens of thousands of dollars just for access to his natural resource research and network, because he takes the time to do all the legwork they simply don't have the time to do themselves. You see, in addition to visiting and exploring mines and other natural resource sites, Gerardo also spends significant time each year traveling throughout the world to expand and enhance his investor network at financial conferences and visiting company headquarters with C-suite executives. So, when he calls a mining company CEO, he either gets put through immediately or gets a call back within 24 hours. This allows him to be dialed in to numerous early-stage profit opportunities weeks, if not months before they are reported on by other financial news outlets. And that's what has allowed him to help others make countless millions of dollars for themselves. So, as an investor who loves to take a portion of my investment portfolio and swing for the fences for big paydays, whenever Gerardo has presented profit opportunities to me that he's been researching, I've always trusted his research and recommendations, and I'm thrilled I did. For example, when he told me about K2 Gold Corp, I listened, allowing me to see 592% gains in less than 7 months. That's enough to quickly turn $10,000 into over $69,000. It happened again with Magna Gold, with 768% gains in just over a year, enough to turn $10,000 into over $86,000. But one of the most impressive recommendations he gave me was to invest in a tiny Canadian gold mining company called Nevada Sunrise. This is the same company he made over 800% gains on several years earlier for himself, and this time it delivered 1,450% gains in just 5 months. That's enough to turn $10,000 into $155,000. Not a bad payday being able to turn $30,000 from those 3 plays into $311,000. Now you can see why we became partners and founded Digest Publishing, to bring the same types of investments we were making so much money with directly to you. You see, some newsletter guys, and I use that term loosely, will show you hypothetical gains, or gains of stocks that went up, but that neither they nor their readers were in. They'll say, imagine turning $30,000 into $311,000 with 3 exclamation points. But that's all they're doing, imagining. We're different. We've lived these gains, banked the profits, built houses and pools, and paid for our kids' private education as a result. I don't have to imagine, and neither do Gerardo's readers. They're writing in, ecstatic about the results they've had using his investment research. Dave J. said, his insights and research have proven out over and over. Jim S. wrote that Gerardo is his favorite newsletter writer by a landslide. This guy knows his shit. Mike V told Gerardo that he always delivers the straight goods. And Victor G simply said about him, you are the man. Those results are why thousands of investors follow Gerardo for mining stock research and guidance in his investment advisory services, including Junior Resource Monthly, which I'll tell you more about in a moment. But first, let me show you some highlights of the top 3 uranium companies that Gerardo thinks could make you an absolute fortune during this nuclear melt-up that's happening right now. After what we've seen with the various energy crises and widespread blackouts and rolling brownouts over the past few years, it's clear that right now is the time to add carefully selected uranium stocks to your portfolio during this nuclear melt-up. The opportunity for investors to take a small amount of cash, like a single $100 bill, and potentially watch it turn into a 6-figure payday couldn't have come at a better time. As you've already seen with the companies I've shown you, uranium stocks have the potential to generate massive fortunes for investors in a short period of time during a nuclear melt-up, like they've already done before. As this nuclear melt-up continues and uranium prices surge to $200 a pound, investors will be paying much more attention to uranium mining companies, driving stock prices through the roof. It's only a matter of time before others discover what Gerardo is sharing with his readers right now. And when that happens, your chance to get in on the action at today's prices may be gone forever. That's why I'd like to show you all of Gerardo's research about these 3 incredible opportunities in a special investor report called Nuclear Melt-Up: 3 uranium stocks that could make investors a fortune. In it, Gerardo shares all his private research on the 3 little-known uranium mining companies that each have the potential to provide you with the millionaire-making fortunes I told you about today. Here's a brief preview of each. Nuclear melt-up stock number 1, America's next uranium producer. Look at this picture, because it could be worth a lot of money to you. Now, to most people, This just looks like any old tree-covered hill at the edge of a prairie. However, there's something currently hidden from view within this hill and beneath the prairie floor. A massive deposit of uranium that's owned by the first uranium company Gerardo is recommending. How much uranium is there? At least 46 million pounds. To put that into perspective, the US consumes 50 million pounds of uranium a year, but produces less than 1 million pounds a year. So all the uranium in the ground at the site you just saw is nearly 50 times what the US produces in an entire year right now. A leading uranium analyst has called this site one of the best in the US because of its large size and high grade. This company also has both its NRC license and all its final EPA permits after a decade of waiting. It's perfect timing for this nuclear melt-up. And that's just one of its projects. It has several other uranium mining operations that look exceptionally promising and position it to become the newest major uranium producer in the United States. And once it does, it could be incredibly exciting for early investors, as they could potentially watch this uranium producer's share price go from $5 or $6 to $200 over the next 12 to 18 months. And quite frankly, if it stopped there and made investors 40 times their money, anybody who got in early would be absolutely thrilled. But like you've already seen from the last nuclear melt-up, a small mining company like this one could quickly go from being worth a few bucks to hundreds of dollars per share within just weeks. You've already seen how Energy Fuels gave investors the chance to make 132 times their money. UEX did the same for 139 times investors' money. And remember, Laramine Resources did even better with 308 times their money. That's why Gerardo thinks this uranium mining stock making investors 40 times their money could be just the first step of this company's monumental climb. There's still time to get in on the ground floor, and it could be an exceptional profit opportunity in the months to come, but I strongly recommend you take action today. Nuclear melt-up stock number 2, an unhedged and production-ready uranium rocket ship ready to soar. During the last nuclear melt-up, this stock went from 16 cents to nearly $7.50 for a gain of over 4,500% in only 2 years. This time around, it's even better positioned, which is why Gerardo thinks it can deliver even better returns this market cycle. The company has a suite of production-ready assets in the US. It's also been on an acquisition spree, adding assets in the US and Canada that give it millions of uranium pounds in the ground. In fact, this company has nearly 300 million pounds of uranium across all its projects. At Gerardo's predicted uranium price of $200 per pound during this nuclear melt-up, that has an in-situ value of $60 billion. That's nearly 50 times higher than the company is being valued in the market right now. And those resources are completely unhedged. That means, unlike other uranium producers, this company hasn't signed contracts at a fixed price. It's free to charge the market price for uranium as its price climbs higher and higher. Plus, this company has zero debt, and it's also been warehousing uranium in anticipation of higher prices to the tune of 1.7 million pounds. Today, it's trading under $10 per share, but a run like it had during the last nuclear melt-up could take it close to $200 per share. That's why Gerardo is telling all his readers of Junior Resource Monthly that it's a strong buy at current prices. And so is this next stock, which is priced even cheaper. Nuclear melt-up stock number 3, the uranium stock that could deliver 30 times your money in just weeks. This Canadian mineral company is engaged in the acquisition, exploration, and development of uranium assets in the pursuit of a clean energy future. And while Gerardo is excited about the previous 2 nuclear melt-up companies, this one here could quickly turn $1,000 into $30,000 or more in just a matter of weeks. Why? Because it's currently exploring a massive, underexplored land package. Originally, The area was known for its copper deposits, and the land position was owned by over a dozen different companies. But today, for the first time ever, in anticipation of this nuclear meltup, this company has become the sole owner of an entire district that hasn't seen a modern mining approach in over 50 years. There is abundant infrastructure supported by a network of roads, rail, deepwater ports, airports, service centers, hydroelectric power, and a skilled workforce. And it's in a politically stable mining jurisdiction of Canada with a transparent permitting process and established mining and taxation laws. As longtime mining investors know, you can have a massive uranium deposit beneath your feet, but if you don't have the needed infrastructure to mine, transport, and process it, then you may as well just throw your investment money away. Plus, this company has over $50 million in cash and is positioned strongly to take advantage of this nuclear meltup. It has everything set up in its favor, and Gerardo's research shows it may be only weeks away from the next big discovery. In fact, in early 2024, the company announced the most significant exploration program to date, targeting Canada's most prospective regions for high-grade uranium discovery. That's why Gerardo recently recommended it to his readers of Junior Resource Monthly while it trades below $1 per share. They're not buying this tiny uranium explorer to just double their money. They're in it to make many multiples, like the one-stock millionaire gains that uranium stocks are known for. And Gerardo will tell you everything you need to know about this and the other two nuclear meltup stocks in his newest premium investor report, Nuclear Meltup, 3 uranium stocks that could make investors a fortune. If you missed out on our previous uranium research and the stock gains that came from it, you won't want to miss this next round of uranium gains. In this new report, you'll discover all 3 companies' names and ticker symbols, along with thorough company profiles based on Gerardo's first-hand analysis, including information you won't find from any other financial publishing outlet. Links to full transcripts of interviews Gerardo has had with the company's CEOs and other uranium industry experts to bring you their insider perspective firsthand. Complete details of company assets, holdings, and upcoming dates for company reports, along with Gerardo's forecast on uranium, where it's heading next, and the catalysts continuing to drive uranium's price to new highs of $200 per pound. Gerardo's recommended buy price ranges so you won't overpay for these stocks and still have the greatest profit potential as we move through this nuclear meltup. And I'd like to send a copy to you today for free when you try Gerardo's flagship natural resource investment newsletter, Junior Resource Monthly. In addition to that special uranium report, you'll also receive 12 monthly issues of Junior Resource Monthly. Each issue is packed with financial research, profit opportunities, and market insights you won't find anywhere else. Each month, Gerardo will provide you with hidden, little-known opportunities that could turn small stakes of money into big paydays. Plus, you'll also receive access to his archives with additional profit opportunities for free. 24/7 access to Gerardo's model portfolio. This includes all his open investment recommendations, so you can pick and choose how you want to diversify your portfolio to generate maximum financial gains in the minimum amount of time. Flash alerts, immediate updates to the model portfolio when needed, along with profit opportunities that require quick action to take advantage of market moves. Access to Gerardo's Natural Resource Wealth Library. This growing collection of special investor reports like Crystal Lithium, the quest for the next 100-bagger battery gains, and the greatest gold trade ever will provide you with additional profit opportunities in natural resource stocks that few analysts report on or have even heard of, that could provide you the chance to scoop up shares weeks or even months before stock prices soar higher. You'll also get a dedicated customer service team. If you ever have any questions about your subscription to Junior Resource Monthly, you can simply give our team member a call or send them an email, and they'll walk you through whatever it is you need. Access to Junior Resource Monthly costs $399 a year, and at that price, it's an absolute bargain, especially when you consider that investing just $100 into one of Gerardo's uranium picks could transform into six figures. It's a no-brainer. However, as part of this limited time offer, you can pay just half. So when you get started today, you'll get everything you've seen for the discounted price of just $199 per year. Plus, you can take your savings and invest it in one of the nuclear melt-up stocks in Gerardo's special report and have the chance to watch it grow and potentially deliver a six-figure payday, just like investors did the last time we saw these market conditions in the uranium sector. I only ask that if you invest in the companies Gerardo has discovered and recommended and make big profits, you'll write in and share your success story, just like Jack S., who wrote in to say,
"That guy is just fantastic. There's no other way of saying it. I make money." Oh, no. He makes money for me, okay? Big time. My God. He's been giving me a Christmas present every month, and all I can tell you is we're not talking about nickels and dimes. This guy is really, really great.
Or George F., who said,
"Thank you, Mr. Del Real. Thank you. Since using your publication, my portfolio is rapidly advancing. This is truly a dream unfolding. Thank you for your publications based on hard work and something that today is hard to find, your honesty and integrity."
That honesty and integrity starts immediately because every new member is also covered by a 100% risk-free guarantee. If at any time over the next 2 months you're not satisfied with Gerardo's research, simply contact our customer service team and you'll be refunded every penny you paid for this service, no questions asked. Gerardo stands behind every recommendation he makes because it's often what he's doing with his own money. And if he's not making money, then his members aren't making money either. That's why we can confidently offer each new member of Junior Resource Monthly a completely risk-free 2-month test drive. Our corporate clients pay us thousands of dollars per month to deliver results that meet their demanding professional standards. But all this is yours today for only $199, and we're completely guaranteeing your satisfaction for a full 2 months. Remember, the life-changing fortunes investors were able to make during the last nuclear melt-up in 2006. 132 times your money, 139 times your money, and 308 times your money. And the 2 profit opportunities that literally enabled them to become one-stock millionaires with more than 1,000 times your money returns. Today, you have the same kind of profit potential during this ongoing nuclear melt-up. This market phenomenon has only happened twice before, and the current melt-up could be larger than both of them. That's why Gerardo is taking early stock positions, and he's recommending his Junior Resource Monthly readers do the same. And remember, the best part about the profit opportunities you heard about today is that you can take a small amount of capital and potentially turn it into a life-changing fortune. The chance to multiply a single $100 bill into a 6-figure financial windfall or to transform $1,000 into $1.3 million doesn't come by often, but when it does, fortune favors those who take quick and decisive action. Now, here's your chance. Join Gerardo and his readers and stake your claim in these unique, once-in-a-generation profit opportunities today by trying out a risk-free subscription to Junior Resource Monthly for the best investment research in the natural resource sector that you won't find anywhere else.